Hello and welcome to this episode of the weekly Shakeout of Paula's Run Club with me, Paula Radcliffe.
And me, Christopher Thompson.
And we're going to start off with a bit of an apology that we haven't gotten around to many of the listener interaction questions the last couple of weeks with everything going on out in Tokyo. So what we're going to do is we'll try to get to as many as possible, but we're going to do the most time sensitive ones first. So apologies if you don't hear yours and you wrote in a while ago. It is coming through. And I'm going to start with the first one, Thommo, who I think is actually pretty relevant to you. So this one comes in from Mark, who ran London, didn't go to plan, but he got through it. He took a short break and then started back with some shorter races, 5 and 10Ks, before a training plan that was supposed to take him through to the Worcester City Half and on to the Valencia Marathon in December. Now he's 58 and he started running 9 years ago. But in his build-up, he picked up a niggle in the ball of his left foot. The pain kept growing, got too much, so he went and got an x-ray. And basically, he's got a potential break to the lateral proximal flanks joint. In other words, the big toe. So he was given a big sexy orthopaedic boot. This was 18 weeks out from Valencia, cancelled Worcester and has resigned himself to not racing in Valencia. Physio has said it will be 10 to 12 weeks before we can run properly, so that would be only 6 weeks before the marathon. Now, because you've been through a similar situation, Thommo, was hoping for some advice on how to come back to running. He has had one wave of shockwave treatment, as it had good recommendations from friends, and another one built in for next week. That might have gone already by now. He is an England Athletics run coach, so he's familiar with setting training plans for himself, but not used to returning from this kind of injury.
Yeah, so it's I think the best way for me to try and answer this is talk relatively generically about coming back from bone injuries in general. The most important thing with any bone injury, wherever it is in the body, is to allow it to fully heal before any running or any kind of impact is put through that particular bone. Generally speaking, depending on where it is, that's 6 to 8 weeks of total kind of non-impact, especially around the toe. I gave my toe 6 weeks of complete rest, although because of where my toe injury was, I could have probably come back sooner because it wasn't one of the main metatarsals. It was one of the dingly dangly ones at the end, in the middle. That is the
technical term.
That is the medical technical term for my toe. But yours is the big toe, which is quite a big kind of not just balancing. It's push off. There's a lot that you can't do without the big toe. So that would, for me, put it into the category of having to be a bit more 6 to 8 weeks kind of careful rather than the 4 to 6 weeks with another bone. And so once you've given it the proper rest, which is hopefully you're getting close to that point, the things you need to think about when coming back, the way I like to kind of help someone understand with bone injuries is when there's callus kind of laid down to heal a bone, that actually becomes stronger than the relatively to the rest of the bone. So your challenge is not necessarily avoiding if you've given it the appropriate rest, of re-breaking. It's more around the structures around it and actually allowing the rest of the foot and the muscles and the rest of the bones around that now very strong calcified bone recovery that you build up relatively to allow everything catch up. Hopefully I'm making sense. And so part of what I did and do, and you can start this while you're in that complete rest, is making sure all the structures around it are keeping active and strong. Glutes, hips, all those lovely things that physios and strength and conditioning things to allow your body to try and not move itself away too far from becoming flimsy. That's another technical term. Then when you build up, using the Jeffing system of walk/running is a good way to slowly introduce impact. So I use, because you're a coach, I use kind of like I have a volume in mind. So if I'm thinking of 5 minutes of running, I'll break it down into minute run, minute walk, or something like that. So I kind of look at in the week how much running I want to do, and then each week build it up. And once I start back, I look to Jeffing effectively for a good 2 to 3 weeks. And then once you get to a decent amount of Jeffing, I can then look to do longer continuous runs, like 20 to 30 minutes. And you have these benchmarks around, once I can do a 30-minute run, you now think, I can introduce a bit of quicker running, until eventually your program and structure starts to look like what it used to.
Yeah.
And then once you get to that point, you're away. But I would say 6 to 8 weeks of total rest, and you want to take that process to take probably 4 to 6 weeks. So that matches up with what the physio is saying of proper running. And again, like I say, it's more about the structures around it than necessarily the actual break. Have I done a good job with that, Paula, of
Yes,
explaining?
no, I think you have. The only thing I would add to it is I think the shockwave around a big toe area can work really, really well on the muscles and ligaments, and kind of as you return to running, they can kind of get a bit stressed. I remember when I came back from my bunion surgery, which was actually a straightening and correcting of the other small toes as well. And so it was all around, and the shockwave was brilliant at getting the ligaments supple again, kind of breaking down scar tissues from the injury and from the surgery, and kind of getting on with that. So I would say stick on with that if it's helped a couple of times, maybe another session there, and a TheraBand on big toe. Just don't neglect the intrinsic foot muscles. So you've talked about the big muscles. Add to that the small muscles. So towel scrunching, TheraBands, pushing your big toe down to the floor. Those kind of things I think will really help.
Brush your teeth standing on that one foot.
Yeah,
that's always that's free exercise. That is brushing your teeth whilst it. I have an electric toothbrush, so I know it's a 2-minute routine with my brush, so I know I get 2 minutes of foot exercises. But when you doing it yourself manually, you never know how long you're doing it for. But yeah, hopefully that helps. And again, I think as you are familiar with as a coach and setting sessions, I would very much see the recovery as using the logic of introducing things slowly each week to get it to a familiar program that you're used to setting and having benchmarks, and allow the body to tell you if it's ready to move on. And usually it will be the structure around it than the bone itself that's telling you.
Right, are you good with the next one, Thommo?
Yes. No, let's crack on. Time is of the essence to fit as much as we can in. So this is from Robert. Hi, love the podcast. Quickly it's become essential weekly listening. Thank you very much, especially on easy runs, which I think is good actually to listen to it on an easy run. I'm 36 and started running in July 2023, training for a local 10k, and managed to scrape round in just under 50 minutes. This sparked a passion for running, and I've been training regularly since. That's around 35 miles a week. With that, I've taken 13 minutes off my 10k time and down to 37, and recently PB'd at 5k 17:45, and my first half marathon in 1 hour 26. That's all very, very good. I'm thinking about my first marathon attempt, having seen the amazing scenes in London and growing popularity and success of my local marathon in Belfast in May. However, I'm daunted by the scale of this commitment, and I'm not sure when would be the best time to go for a first attempt. Should I continue to build an aerobic base for a few more years to improve my potential, or is that offset by declining age performance? Is there so much opinion, and often contradictory information online? Thanks, Robert.
Well, it's the age-old question, isn't it, of when is it best to do the marathon? And I think my answer to that would be, if you're excited by the amazing scenes in London, then now's the right time. You've picked a race that you're motivated to perform well in your hometown as well. So I think those are all good signs. And the big advice would be to respect the marathon, but don't be afraid of it. And go to it when you feel is the right time for you, in terms of you're excited to take on that challenge rather than being afraid. So kind of judging whether it's an excitement with a little bit of fear, or whether it's a fear and I don't want to do that just yet, because then wait a little bit. In terms of your body being ready, I think your body's ready when your mind's ready, and the biggest part of it is keeping strong mentally. So I would just wish you the very, very best of luck, and you've got a nice amount of time to start gradually building up the base into Belfast as well.
Yeah, and the only thing I would say, I mean, they are impressive times, and so certainly physically to be able to run 1 hour and 26 for a half marathon would certainly say physically, extending the long run out, you're ready to give it a go. You set it up perfectly if you're mentally ready, and there's lots of information there to help build the confidence. Like, that's what we are here for, and speak to other people that have run it, but certainly physically we're all capable of amazing things.
Yeah. So definitely, any questions, ping them in. And on that, the next one from Anne is one of those. Hi, Paula and Chris. Love the podcast. You've been getting me through a lot of training over the last few months. As I prepare for Valencia in December, I'm aware that unexpected things will crop up during my 12-week training block. Life will throw some curveballs, illnesses, sessions I have to miss for one reason or another. Is it worth trying to build these factors into a marathon block? So instead of doing 12-week program, do the 12-week program over, say, 13 or 14 weeks, allowing for contingencies? Or will this mean I'll peak too early and get the timing of all the race prep wrong? Your advice will be much appreciated.
So it's funny. I think that concept of marathon build up, it can be lost in the fact that actually if you're running, you're effectively training for a marathon. It doesn't have to, you don't have to suddenly go, right, my hour run now is a marathon run. If it's an hour, it's an hour. So in terms of when you think of a block of work, I think being physically active and physically running can be all part of that package. If you're being specific on building up a long run, I actually used a 12-week program, and within that 12 weeks I actually assumed there would be hiccups, and so therefore I would react within that 12, because it's as much about how many how long you want to build up towards that long run, how many runs you want to kind of do to get up to that main long run, and then over what kind of and how many of them. And I think that helps you to kind of give you that contingency. And I think sometimes as well, with this, is it's never about being perfect. You can have, for instance, to use a specific example, if you're using, say, a short fartlek type session early week and a long run on the weekend, if for whatever reason you can't do your long run on the weekend because you're ill, you can postpone it and replace your fartlek session the next week. So you can be adaptable within the program. It's all about trying to reach that kind of marathon training crescendo within a time period that can be very adaptable. So I think hopefully that sort of answers from my perspective. But I think, yes, if you want to stretch it out to 13 or 14, but with that, you're almost going to have to force yourself to rest a bit, because that's quite a long time to train for a marathon.
And I think, to wrap all that up, generally the 12-week program or the 16-week program encompasses in it time for those little setbacks, doesn't it? I mean, that's the way I would look at it. So don't panic too much. Just be flexible and listen to your body throughout that training, and I think you will be great. So wishing you lots of luck.
And I will say, quite often when people train for a marathon, 5-6 weeks out, and if they were forced to run one, they could probably get round, not in the manner in which they'd want, but you generally training for a marathon, you're ready a lot earlier than you think. You're just trying to put icing on the cake, so to speak, as you think. So I think, once you get 5 or 6 weeks out, you're probably actually pretty much there. And so you can start to think about actually just when you're fine tuning, you are fine tuning, and you're not trying to get you're able to do it. So anyway. Right. Next was, I believe, Gary, was it? Mm-hmm. Right. This one comes in from Gary about New York Marathon tips for a senior. Hi, Paula and Thommo. I'm 69 years old, a regular runner, racer, and have done 3 flattish marathons, Berlin, London, and Amsterdam, and was super fortunate to get an open ballot place for New York. Well done, because that can't be easy. Mm-hmm. First attempt as well. Wow. It's funny. It's almost like bragging rights when you get in first time to some of these marathons. He's put, did they pity me? I don't think so. I think it's all very much a pull out of a hat scenario. 6 weeks to go now in my peak mileage phase. Really hard work, but touch wood, all has gone well so far. Brilliant. All I see and hear is that New York is tough. I've seen the course profile, will be gelled to the gills, and I'll be absolutely chuffed with a 4 hours 30 finish and a smile on my face. Perfect. Smile on your face is key. Enjoyment is absolute priority. Do you have any tips that you'd like to pass on? Well, Gary, it's funny actually. Fortunately for us, we've got a 2-time winner amongst us, and it's not me. That can probably answer that pretty well.
It was 3. But anyway.
Brilliant.
No, but I mean, I love New York, and I think the key thing for Gary going into New York is the hills are kind of, the steep hills are at the end when you're in Central Park. So I think you get the chance to go over that, walk over it. They probably will not be as big in reality as they are built up to by the myth of all the runners coming back from New York and talking about the hills. That was certainly my impression the first time that I went. So the bridges are a different thing, and starts out on Staten Island with the first one, and it's a gradual incline, but it just goes on for a long time, and that's what tends to happen over the bridges. And then you come onto First Avenue, that again is a bit of a drag, and you go around the Bronx, but then when you come back into the park, it is that final 2-3 miles or so around the park that are rolling, and that I think is the key. The key is to really negative split it, run quicker in the second half and save something, because it may mean that like you're energy wise running faster in the second half, your time might work out about the same because you're managing those hills. Definitely it just means keeping a little bit of extra energy in the tank for the final bit in Central Park, and I would really advise walking over that final hill to the finish, just so you know how long it is that you're working your way up it, because it is a kicker at the end.
Would you, because they say a lot about how halfway in a marathon is 20 miles. And would you say that applies even more so to New York?
Yeah, totally. Even more so than that almost, because when you drop onto Fifth Avenue, what's that? That's about 17 miles.
I think it's about 17, but you kind of come back up.
It's almost like when you get to the other end of it and out of the Bronx, that's when you can really start pushing on, in my mind, there. But the big thing is to be excited about. It's a great event. The crowds are brilliant. You will be gelled up, as you said. Just remember to stay well fueled and hydrated, because it is a long trip out to the start in New York. That's the other thing. The marathons that you've listed, actually, I'm not sure about Amsterdam, but the others, it's an easy-ish trip to the start. This one you are on a bus for a little bit out to the start, and then you'll be out there a while before, so stay hydrated, stay fueled up there, take things to keep warm out at the start.
I was going to say, yeah, it's quite fresh, isn't it? It's quite exposed when you go over the bridge, and at that time of year it can be pretty nippy, can't it?
So yeah, just wishing you lots of luck. Please let us know how you get on. It's not that long to go now, is it? It's what, about less than 6 weeks, is it?
Something, yeah, it's really not far, but he made a good point, about the travel to the start, especially around really being cold, and then we didn't really discuss the bus and the travel at Tokyo, and the warm-ups and then the cramps and stuff. What was the lowdown while you're out there about that and the warm-up for them?
That's a good point. I mean, it was something that some athletes took in their stride and others it really bothered. I'm thinking Matthew Hudson-Smith is a case in point. Now, one of the issues was they were warming up in very warm conditions, then getting on an air-conditioned bus. And what happened to Matt Hudson-Smith was everything seized up.
Oh, really?
And yeah, so he his basically whole lower back went into spasm, which meant he felt like he was running on one leg. So it really wasn't conducive. So that was something that absolutely didn't work for him. Other people, I mean, Julia talked about the fact that it wasn't ideal, but wasn't really a big deal. Just got on the bus, got there, and was able to work around it. So I do really think it's one of those things, and I guess feeds into that question a bit about New York. If you let something be a problem in your head, it can become a bigger problem. There are always going to be the physical things that you have to mitigate against. So prepare for the hills, but don't create it being a problem in your head before you even get there, because you might find that you actually handle those hills really, really well. So I think go in with that mindset.
With the Tokyo stuff, that was more probably an issue for the explosive events, wasn't it? Because they're really getting ready to explode out of our blocks, rather than people that can use the race as part of warm up for the distance.
And so to clarify how it worked, the warm-up procedure happened and the first call was 50 minutes before, and then they got on a bus, which took about 10-15 minutes, longer actually on the days when the marathons had the roads closed because it had to go a different way around. And then they came in and they had a second call room where they could do a bit of warm-up in there. What we did see was that events which had semi-finals and then finals later on, so I'm thinking the 100 metres, the 110 hurdles, the 100 hurdles, they didn't have to go back to the original warm-up area. They stayed under the stadium. And we saw noticeably quicker times.
I noticed that.
Which you do anyway. But at the same time,
Okay.
some of that, I think, was down to the fact that there wasn't that disruption in warm-up. So undoubtedly it played a role. But again, go back to that. When you're preparing for something, and it's important, try not to let the annoying things annoy you, if that is sound advice.
I say that to Gemma all the time. Don't get annoyed by me. You just let it go. I'm here to stay. Just let it go. Anyway,
and then we've got a quick update on your thing. So you mentioned the Neapolitan ice cream.
Yeah, no, this is funny. This is
not
brilliant.
Actually, it is a bit of interaction. It's not really a question as such, but Jen has sent us in a picture saying she listened to the Shakeout podcast and had to send you a picture of what her 4-year-old daughter had done to the tub of Neapolitan ice cream. So we will put this picture up there. But basically, I don't think her 4-year-old likes strawberry.
No, she doesn't. And do you know what interesting about the picture is? She hasn't even taken the vanilla to the edge of the strawberry for risk of taking any strawberry. She's left almost like a vanilla barrier to the strawberry. I was very much chocolate only, and then, but do you know what? I didn't even know Neapolitan still existed because, like, if you know, but it's just so funny. It just takes me back to my childhood. It was like when, were you ever that person or child that if you had apple crumble, you'd only eat the crumble and
No,
leave the apple? I
no.
was one of them. I'd only eat
Oh
the
no.
crumble and leave the
That's
apple.
like the whole point of it is to mix it all up.
Yeah,
Bit of
but I was a
everything in it.
kid who went into the utility to grab chocolate from the Neapolitan tub and then scrape off the crumble and eat that, and then my parents would be just left with apple, vanilla, and strawberry ice cream. It's like now that I've got kids, I can see why they tolerated it, but it must have been annoying.
And then while we are just on the listener interaction, another quick one that I'm going to pop in there, Thommo, because we've been talking about New York, is that we had a quick message in from Connor, who joined us on the Shakeout run.
Yes.
And so if we do make that happen in New York, which we're all working towards, then you can maybe join us there as well. But he's just saying thank you so much for coming along and for us doing the Shakeout run on the quayside in Newcastle. And it also adds that he was the person who asked about the Kielder Marathon in the middle of a marathon block the other week. And he's looking forward to seeing me there in some shape or form. So yeah, hopefully I will see you there as well.
Oh, fantastic! It's do you know what? It was a lovely run, and there's some lovely people that showed up. I was a bit worried. Obviously, we did it the day before the Great North, but everyone had a bit of fun, and it was just really nice to meet people in person. So I hope
Definitely.
we need to do it again.
To do it. Yeah, we'd love to do it in New York. And right, do we have time for one further
We'll look for
question?
Sharky. No,
I think that's probably it for this week, I'm afraid. So
yeah. If anyone's complaining at home, you can blame my producer, Sharky.
No, that's not a clean out. Shut up. Come on, Sharky needs to go. Shut up. Right. Bossy in. Yeah, okay.
Oh, right. I thought you did that snip. The snip. Okay. Sorry, Mum. Thank
you so much to everyone who has got in touch with all of those questions. Again, we promise we will get back to answering all the questions that are built up while I was out in Tokyo. We love to hear from you, and we want your shout outs for the Honours Board as well. So remember, please get in touch with email address paulasrunclub@momentumbroadcast.co.uk. The WhatsApp number is +44 7564 747 914. Remember, you can leave voicemail messages as well, and you can get in touch on socials. Of course, its handle is @Paula's Run Club. Don't forget, you can watch the whole podcast on YouTube. Main pod drops on a Monday, and this Shakeout drops on a Thursday. It has been a Momentum Broadcast production, and thank you for listening.
Well done, Paul, after all that jet lag. You nailed it. Well done.